version. The light above Olympus, a myth of Zeus, Hera, and Athena. High above the restless world of mortals, beyond the reach of tides, beyond the turning of seasons, beyond the quiet erosion of time, rose Mount Olympus eternal and radiant. Its pillars were carved from marble that never dimmed. Its courtyards shimmered beneath a sky that knew no storm unless summoned. Golden light lingered in its halls as though the sun itself had chosen to dwell there, and the winds that passed through its terraces carried laughter, music, and the echoes of divine decree. From this height, the world below appeared fragile, its kingdoms fleeting, its triumphs brief, its sorrows countless. And yet it was for that world that Olympus stood, a throne above chaos, a promise of order, a seat of power meant to hold existence together. But even in such a place, perfection was an illusion. For among the immortals, there were tensions that no eternity could erase, quiet fractures that widened not with violence, but with silence. At the heart of these unspoken tensions stood three figures whose presence defined Olympus itself: Zeus, ruler of the skies; Hera, queen of sacred bonds; and Athena, the embodiment of reason and insight. Their story is not one of war, it is one of understanding hard won. I, Zeus, the king, who could not rest. Zeus stood at the highest edge of Olympus, where the sky seemed almost within reach of his hand. Below him stretched the vastness of the mortal world, cities rising and falling, seas shifting in endless motion, lives flickering like brief flames against the darkness of time. He watched them all. Lightning rested loosely in his grasp, its glow pulsing faintly, as though it were not merely a weapon, but an extension of his will. To the world, Zeus was absolute. He commanded storms, governed fate, and upheld the laws that bound both gods and mortals. His voice carried the authority of inevitability, his judgment, the weight of the cosmos itself. But authority, once won through struggle, is never free from memory. Long before Olympus gleamed in triumph, there had been fear, ancient, suffocating fear. His father, Cronus, had ruled through it, fear of prophecy, fear of loss, fear of being undone by his own blood. Zeus had overthrown that fear. He had shattered it in war, freed those it had consumed, and built something new from its ruin. Yet in doing so, he had inherited something he could not entirely escape. The knowledge that power can be taken, that order can fall, that even the strongest throne is not beyond challenge. And so Zeus watched. He watched for signs of dissent, for cracks in loyalty, for anything that resembled the chaos he had once defeated. His vigilance became his habit became his nature. He told himself it was necessary, that without his control, the world would unravel. But control, when held too tightly, becomes a barrier rather than a safeguard. And though Zeus ruled the sky, there were moments, brief, unguarded, when he felt the weight of it pressing inward, like a storm that would not break. Hera, the queen who would not bend within the halls of Olympus, where light flowed across polished stone and voices carried with effortless clarity. Hera moved with a presence that required no announcement. She did not need to command attention. She possessed it. As queen, she was more than consort to Zeus. She was the guardian of what held the world together, not through force, but through meaning. Marriage, vows, fidelity, the sacred trust between souls, these were her dominion. Where Zeus ruled by strength, Hera ruled by principle. And principles, once broken, do not shatter quietly. To Hera, a vow was not a formality. It was a foundation. It was the unseen structure upon which families were built, upon which societies endured. To betray such a thing was not merely a personal failing. It was a fracture in the order of existence itself. And yet, the one who stood beside her, the one who shared her throne, had broken that sacred trust more times than could be counted. Each betrayal was a wound, not always visible, not always spoken, but never forgotten. Hera's anger, so often told in stories, was not born in vanity. It was born in disillusionment, the slow, painful realization that what she held sacred was not held equally by the one who should have honored it most. Still, she did not collapse beneath that realization. She became resolute. She wore her dignity like armor. She carried herself not as one diminished, but as one who refused to be diminished. Even in the face of humiliation, she remained unyielding in her sense of self. Yet endurance has a cost. Unspoken pain does not vanish. It settles, it hardens, it transforms. There were moments when Hera's grief, left without voice, turned outward, when justice became severity, and her strength became sharp enough to wound. In those moments, she was not merely a queen. She was a heart that had been asked to endure too much for too long. Athena, the one who saw clearly. Athena stood apart, not in distance, but in perception. Born from Zeus himself, emerging fully formed from his mind, she carried within her the essence of thought refined by pressure. She was not shaped by impulse, nor driven by unchecked emotion. She was guided by clarity. Where others reacted, she observed. Where others clashed, she considered. Athena understood that strength without wisdom was ruinous, and that wisdom without compassion was hollow. She embodied both. Yet to see clearly is not always a gift. It is a responsibility. She saw her father's vigilance for what it was, fear given structure, disguised as necessity. She saw Hera's anger for what it concealed, grief sharpened into defiance. She understood them both, and that understanding placed her in a quiet, unchosen role. Between them, not as judge, not as savior, but as witness. For there are those in every age who perceive the truth of others so completely that they are left carrying burdens that are not entirely their own. Athena bore that burden without complaint, but she did not ignore it. Paf, the silence before the storm. The change came not with thunder, but with absence. One evening, Olympus grew quiet. Music faltered, laughter dimmed. Even the air seemed to pause, as though the mountain itself sensed a tension that had long been building beneath its brilliance. Zeus stood once more at the edge of the sky. Hera approached him. "You hold the world together," she said, her voice calm but unyielding. "And yet you fail to see what is falling apart." Zeus did not turn. "If you speak, speak plainly." Hera's gaze did not waver. "Olympus is filled with power," she said, "but it is empty of peace." His hand tightened around the lightning he carried. "Peace is not given," he replied. "It is maintained." "And love?" Hera asked quietly. "Is that maintained as well?" The question lingered. It did not demand an answer. It revealed the absence of one. The temple beyond power Athena heard, and where others might have withdrawn, she stepped forward. "There is a place," she said, "where neither power nor pride holds authority. Come with me." Beyond the grandeur of Olympus, beyond its courts and thrones, stood an ancient temple, older than Zeus's reign, untouched by victory, unmarked by conflict. There, titles held no weight. There only truth remained. Reluctantly, they followed. Not as rulers, not as symbols, but as themselves. What the gods admitted, within the quiet of that temple, illuminated only by a single flame, Zeus spoke first. "I have feared losing everything I built," he said, "so I held everything tightly. Too tightly." He paused. "I knew how to defeat chaos. I did not know how to trust that it would not return." Hera listened. Then at last she answered. "I did not need you to be flawless," she said. "I needed you to honor what we shared." Her voice softened, not in weakness, but in truth. "I became unyielding because I had to protect what remained of my dignity." Athena stood between them, not resolving, not directing, only allowing. "Nothing can be healed," she said quietly, "until it is spoken without fear." And so, for the first time in countless years, they did not defend themselves. They did not accuse. They listened. And in that listening, something shifted. Not perfection, not restoration, but understanding. Sept, the light that remained when they returned to Olympus, nothing appeared changed. And yet, everything was. Zeus still ruled, but with less force in his grip. Hera still stood beside him, but with less distance in her silence. Athena remained, steady, watchful, unwavering. The conflicts of Olympus did not vanish, but they no longer echoed in quite the same way. For something had been allowed that had long been denied. Truth. Final reflection. This story endures because it reflects something timeless, that power can isolate, that love can be wounded, that dignity can endure even when tested, and that wisdom, true wisdom, is not found in control or victory, but in the courage to understand. Even among gods, harmony is not given, it is chosen. And if this story moved you, please leave a like and share in the comments how this story made you feel. Did Hera's sorrow touch you? Did Athena's wisdom speak to you? Did Zeus's burden make you see him differently? I'd love to hear your thoughts.